Alrighty, it looks like we are live, and welcome to the second episode of the Color Up Club podcast, where today we're going to be talking all about the math of the game of craps. So sit back and relax and listen to what Jeremy's got to say about the math of craps.
Welcome to the Color Up Podcast. Whether you're a seasoned player or a beginner eager to step up to the table, this is your lucky podcast that's all about the thrill and strategy of the casino world. I'm your host, Jeremy. With me is Jim the Professor. Let's get rolling.
Hey, Jim, how you doing this week?
I am doing great. How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, excellent. I'm excited about today's theme. That's one of the reasons I love this game is the math of it. I'm not some like math wizard or anything, but I just really love the math aspects of this game for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to for you people who are math wired to kind of get into the math and the payouts and the odds and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk about the house edge and what it is and what it's not. And anyway, I think it's going to be a really cool podcast today.
So I heard you did a little bit of gambling actually this week. Is that...
I did. I went ahead and went with my sister, my brother-in-law, and my uncle who is in town visiting. He's leaving tomorrow. And as I told everybody and you last week, I've only been to the local casino one time in over a year. Well, today marks trip number 2. Okay. And I played for 50 minutes. And
50 or 15?
50.
Okay, I was going to say, that's a really short session. All
right.
No.
That would be a losing session, and I probably wouldn't be talking about it.
Well,
but
I know some people do like, $500 bet, they win once and they're out type. So, I mean.
Oh, no. Okay. That wouldn't be me. Okay, that would not be me. But I bought in with 400, not to lose 400, but just bought in with 400.
All right.
And I stayed there for 50 minutes, and I colored up $148 in 50 minutes. So hey, go Jim the
not
Professor.
Too shabby, yeah.
No, and that includes tipping.
Tipping. Now you said you weren't willing to lose all 400. What was your walk away point? Like if you were down half or what's?
No. I would have walked away with 100 because I had family there, and I don't want them to think bad about me.
So you would have kept playing a little bit longer. So you were willing to lose 300.
2.
Oh,
2 would have
but
been
you
a walk away.
You bought them for 4.
Yeah.
If you were down 2, then you would have walked.
Yeah, I would have walked it too.
Okay. But you ended up. So what did you play? I know how you play, but.
Yeah, so I played what some people call the standard, which is a pass line bet with odds. And then I went ahead and jumped on the come bet, and I did 3 come bets and placed odds each time with it, and worked out really well for me this time. And very, very, very low house edge, and that's the way I like to play. And we'll talk about that in a little
being
bit.
The professor, that's why I call it the standard, is because that's all the books and mathematicians will tell you that's really how you should play the game. But they play to lose the least amount of money. They don't play to win. So. That's my argument against that one. But that's a discussion for later.
Yeah.
Now, I actually did a little gambling myself.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, you were teased us last week and told us you were going to Vegas to meet with your brother, and how did it go?
Oh, that's right, because I left right after the podcast. So
yes.
He just, he's a platinum MGM guy, so he's got offers and all that stuff. So he just was like, just goes on a whim, and it's like, hey, I want to go in there and play. And it was really a trip to just kind of hang out with him. And for him, he's kind of relatively new gambler, about a year and a half. And he really went expecting, well, I need some extra cash. I'll go and win some more money. Because I kid you not, this guy wins every time. And it's been like a year and a half. He just thinks it is his personal ATM machine. So I went along with him. And he had, I believe it was his first losing session ever.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I am a little bit proud of him because, I was starting to get worried. I'm like, with that kind of attitude, you could become a problem gambler. And he's like, I mean, it just works every time. It's like an ATM. I just constantly win. I'm like, it's not always going to be that way. And I was really proud of him in the fact that he lost, a good bit of money, but nothing crazy. Like it wasn't like any, he didn't dig into the pockets to lose tons and tons. So that was nice to see. So I'm like, well, maybe you don't have a problem because you can actually walk away, if you're down. And so that was good. I didn't do much gambling myself because I was just kind of around him, and maybe I was his bad luck. At least that's what he said. I was just tagging along being bad luck. But I did get a chance to play at the Golden Nugget downtown.
Mhm.
And I walked by the little pool area, and they have the little tub tables. They're like 4 or 5 feet total for you dice controllers out there who say they can. So I got to play at the little tub, and I liked it because it's a $5 game. It was pretty warm out there, and they didn't have like misters or anything to cool us down. But a $5 game, you can't pass those up. So I played for a little bit, and it was funny. The dealers trying to help. It attracts new players. So a couple new players there, and she was trying to give them advice. And at one point, she's like, maybe you should watch YouTube. I hear there's some good teaching on there. And then she kind of looked over at me and like, maybe a Color Up or something like it, one of those channels like that. So then I knew she like knew me. And then some of the other people that on the table like, yeah, we've watched him. Wait, is that the guy? So it's always kind of weird being noticed at a table, but then they're like, oh yeah, we have seen some of your videos. And so that was fun. I did lose. I was down. I didn't play that long, but I ended up down a whole $25, right? But that's the benefit of playing at a $5 game. So I had some fun, little experience on the little tub table. And it was funny that the dealer noticed me and pointed
Well,
it out.
that's the power of having your own YouTube channel and being an expert at the game of craps. So that's awesome. I did have a. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing being noticed, right? So I do try to generally over tip just because I don't want them like, the Color Up guy, what a scumbag or whatever. But other than that, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing being noticed. But it's definitely, something I'm getting more and more used to, I guess.
I had a moment where today, no lie, I went up there to play, and beside me there was a gentleman. I won't say what branch of service he's in because he told me not to mention or who he was or anything like that because I told him I was going to give him a shout out. But he said this is the 4th time he's playing, and he says he's been watching all of your videos, and he even said, "Hey, you were on the podcast last week," and I was like, "What?" And I felt like a podcast. So, yeah. So he's one of the, whatever people who watched. And what was really cool was he's watched enough of your videos to recognize that I was playing the standard. He said, "You're playing the standard." And I said, "Yeah."
He's paying attention then for a new player.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
Very, very
that's good.
Pretty so, but anyway, we got a chance to chit chat a little bit, and then it was fun walking away, coloring up, looking like an expert in the game of craps. So, but anyway, that was my little moment.
Oh, that guy knows what he's doing.
Oh,
how'd your family
absolutely.
do, by the way? Did they play with you, or were they just watching?
No. They're my uncle and the other brother-in-law, not gamblers at all. And my sister just got a card and did the free play. So I think she turned the free play into $7 of real money. So I think that's a win.
Hey,
that's
a win. But I do like the aspect of you look like the expert, because if you win $100 and some, you're like, yeah, I just played a little bit, I won $100 and some dollars.
Yeah, get in and get out. Yeah, and that was with tipping. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
All right, so we got some news this week.
Yes, we do.
What do we got in the news?
So the big story this week is there was a couple major companies that went ahead and brought up a shareholder vote to talk about non-smoking. Bally's and also Boyd shareholders brought to the floor of the shareholders meeting a vote to study the cost of having smokers going ahead and allowing smokers to smoke in the casino. And they wanted to see how much more they're paying in premiums, how much more in upkeep and the carpets and all the other stuff. And both companies, as far as the shareholders went, voted down to have any kind of study whatsoever.
Yeah, I find that interesting that they voted. They don't even want to see a study. They're like, we don't want to see a study. We just want to keep smoking alive in our casinos, right? Like, we don't want the information. No, it's just a hard no, right? So,
yeah, they shot it down, and they had there's various reasons for both of them. One of them mentioned that they didn't want to put their casino at a disadvantage compared to the competitors, and there's actually been a couple studies, or at least one study that was mentioned in one of the articles that, what's the word I'm looking for? That they had more money being made at non-smoking casinos than at the smoking casinos. So I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I
interesting.
think as more and more of those studies come out, they'll go, I mean, maybe we do got to look at the data. But in Vegas, so Park MGM is the only
Mhm.
non-smoking one on the strip, I guess. Maybe there's other non-smoking locals. I don't know of
Mhm.
what, but I don't know obviously their numbers or anything, but I imagine they're doing okay or not. But so where do you stand on smoking, non-smoking in casinos? I have an
So
interesting stance on it,
okay,
probably.
well, here's my stance is, if you want to do X, Y, or Z, knock yourself out as long as it's not impacting me. Um, and that's it. Today there was a gentleman smoking beside me, and I didn't like it. It's a smoking casino, and I've been to a number of non-smoking casinos, Cherokee down in North Carolina, and a few other places. And I gotta believe that they're not losing any money whatsoever by not having smoking in the casino, and not to mention the
Obviously, you're a
fact.
non-smoker then, because it
Yes,
bothers you or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
yeah, it
okay.
bothers me, and I avoid it, but I did put up with it today, for a little bit, and then I came home and, took off my clothes and, gonna have to wash my clothes out and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but then again, that's me, but I mean, like I said, if you wanna go outside and smoke and do your thing, knock yourself out, but, you know, I don't think you should be doing it beside somebody else, and you definitely shouldn't be doing it besides other people who,
So
may or may
I
not.
get that, but I'm a little more wishy-washy about this. So to, I'm a non-smoker for starters, and I love non-smoking casinos. But on the other hand, like Vegas is based on, it's like Sin City, right? You gamble, you're gambling there, you're drinking there, you're, well, not inside city limits, but you can get prostitutes there. You can smoke there for now, right? So it's like you can do all these vices, and then now all of a sudden they're like saying, well, this one you can't do. And I get it. It's because it affect that one out of, the other ones are kind of individual based. That's who they affect. But smoking really does directly impact the person next to you and the workers, they don't have a choice. They
Mhm.
don't have a choice in the matter. So that's probably, why I would vote for non-smoking as not, because the workers themselves don't have a choice. They just have to put up with it. And, 10 years of secondhand smoke or whatever, that's not a great situation. So I would definitely vote it, but I do feel bad for the smokers who are like, this is my one place. Cause most restaurants, public buildings, you can't smoke anymore. And this is like, I'm going to do vices. I'm going to gamble and drink and now they're telling me I can't smoke. So I do kind of get their side of it, and I feel bad, but yeah, I would be okay with non-smoking casinos. And I think as the money proves out, these places are all about the money, and that it might actually be more advantageous to be non-smoking than they're going to move that way. But I get both sides of the argument. I certainly get the vice part of it.
Mhm. I
So
would
I
say
don't know.
this, that, they don't allow the prostitution at the table either,
No,
so,
no. But again,
that's
that
another
doesn't
one.
really, I mean, it does affect the people, the prostitution, the workers.
Mhm.
That's a whole nother topic, but it's not like, if so and
I
so
would
goes to, it doesn't affect me in the casino, right?
Right,
That's,
right, right.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay. Fair
a
enough on
little,
that one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what else we got?
So we got that one, and number 2, I believe on the list was, let's see, the last one. Oh, daggone it. Don't have my glasses on. What was number 2, Jeremy? We were talking about
You
that.
sent me, the Mirage. The Mirage is
Oh,
closing.
yeah, yeah, yes. That's the big news. So the Mirage is closing. They announced the closing date, and it's going to turn into a Hard Rock, and they're going to have a 660-foot tower plus over there on the Strip. But what's significant about this one is this was the resort that launched all of the mega resorts. In the next few years after the Mirage opened up, they had Excalibur, the Luxor, MGM Grand, all these great themed super resorts. And it really did change the whole thing. It was where Siegfried and Roy had their tiger show for years. And anyway, it's a very historic property. And now it's going to be changing into a new thing. And I think the date was what, 2026 or
They said
26?
3 years, 27, I think. This is
27. Okay. Yeah.
They were talking about just doing like a remodel, but now they're like, it's going to be ground up. But yeah, Steve Wynn started it, and then he's like the first themed, let's get a volcano and let's theme it. And yeah, Mega Resort is like, and he kind of launched that thing. So it was pretty interesting that I did notice they gave some good severance pack. Oh, I thought it was pretty good. So you get like $2,000 per year that you work there. And I believe it opened in like 89, 90. And they said they had like 100 plus employees that had been there since opening day. So they're, what is that, 34 years in? So they get a nice little 70,000 bonus. And then they held a job fair. They're trying to find them either other Hard Rocks or other places to have a local job there. In Vegas, they invited all the other casinos in to, hopefully give them a job. But I understand you can't really float them for 3 years. So it's like, we got to let you go. And hopefully, hey, we treat you well on the way out. Maybe you'll come back once we do open. But now I've been to the one, I guess it's Miami or between Fort Lauderdale. Have you seen the this guitar hotel? It's like shaped like, it looks like a guitar.
Yeah, I've been to the one in Biloxi
I didn't know
down
they had one
there.
there.
Yep, and there's a nice big guitar there. And then I saw the one at the Las Vegas Museum, the Neon Museum. But the one in Biloxi is the only one that I've actually been to in person with the big guitar in
like the
front
whole
of it.
hotel, like the 600-foot or whatever the giant building is shaped like. It's not a square. It's a
It's shaped like a
yeah.
But
okay.
that's what I'm saying. There's a guitar in front of the hotel down in Biloxi, a big giant guitar, but it's not 600
Oh yeah,
feet.
I don't mean a giant guitar in front. I mean the hotel is actually a guitar.
Oh, really? That's what it's going to be?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed
they'll have
that.
other hotels beside it, but yeah, the actual hotel building, is rounded and curved and looks like a guitar. You have to check out some of the renderings. But
I missed that.
Yeah,
I thought they were just
as far as I know, it's only in Miami or whatever, but it is a giant guitar building shape. I don't know how to explain.
So it's not just a sign. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It's not just a sign. The whole building has, is the shape of a guitar.
The curves.
It's
okay.
crazy. Yeah.
Totally
from a
missed
mile
that.
away, you go, wow, gigantic guitar building. So I guess that's what they're doing. And I mean, we have DiceCon coming up in June, so we're gonna have to. I know a group of people said they want to hop over there and play before they
Definitely
tear down the Mirage and get collectible chips and that sort of thing. So yeah, kind of an icon, big icon. The first mega resort closing down.
Is closing down. So then what was our third thing? Was Evil?
Yeah,
there we go.
Evil.
So construction has begun on the Evel Knievel Museum, and it's going to be in Las Vegas. And if you read the articles, it is going to be pretty crazy to think that they're going to have a whole museum there for Evel Knievel. But the history of people my age and maybe your age with Evel Knievel, for the millennials out there, Evel Knievel was like the originator of the extreme stunts, and a famous stunt in 1967, the year I was born. He went ahead and tried to jump over the fountains, and I think he made it over the fountains at Caesar's Palace, but then he crashed. He was more of a.
You're talking about, I'll go ahead and show a video for those watching on YouTube.
Yeah, here you go.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, this is it here. So he did the famous jump over the fountains at
what I was
Caesar's
reading
Palace.
Is so he didn't. I mean, obviously math existed, but he didn't do any of the calculations. So it looks like he just his back wheel kind of bounces.
Yes, yeah, he didn't. He hit the edge of the ramp
after that.
Yeah, and
it's pretty.
And then
gruesome.
And then if you look at it, watch it here, Jeremy. The bike is trying to kill him at this point.
Yeah,
and it hits him. The bike attacks him, and then he separates himself from the bike. And it's just, he's famous for his crashes. And
there's already a museum. They're moving it, I guess. It's like in the Midwest.
Yeah, I did see that, and looks like it's going to be pretty cool. But I don't know who's going to go to it that's under 47 years old.
I know him. I mean, back in the day, I mean, he's actually before my time, but back he I guess because he's connected to Vegas. I mean, that was one of his famous. He jumped over everything, right? Like that was his
Sure.
thing. Well, not necessarily jumping, but crashing.
Yes.
But like it was like during his decade, it was like Evil Knievel, and then it was like Mike Tyson, and then like Michael Jordan. Like that's how big he was.
Yeah.
And I was kind of on the tail end of that. And I believe I had like a toy. You said they finished those toys in like 77. I mean, I was born in
Yes.
78, but
A little
like
wind
he pulled
up.
a wind up thing, and he just the little guitar or the little motorcycle kind of zoomed
Yeah,
off.
you go
But
jump them on ramps and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
but I don't know how he was. I mean, I guess there were like 3 TV stations at the time, so there weren't a lot of options. But somehow he like captivated the whole nation and was this
Yeah.
entertainer. And what better place to showcase entertainment than Vegas? And so I guess that's the connection. But it's
And
kind
then
of
ABC, Wide World of Sports, he was on there, World of Sports, and he was
but
on there. And then he jumped the Snake River Canyon, and
mhm,
there's some controversy about whether he pulled the parachute thing on purpose because he didn't want to be
yeah,
successful. He wanted to have the drama of the rescue
right.
helicopter and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
He's
It's like
really
he
an
jumped
interesting
over 10
character.
buses and then 15
Yeah,
buses and then
Wembley
but like you
Stadium.
said, like my kids, there's no way they know who this guy is. So like I don't
Nobody's
know
buying
if this
tickets, I don't
is
think.
yeah, I don't know how this museum's going to do. I know there's other thing there's a restaurant involved and something else in that building, but yeah, I mean, they planned this a few years ago, but they have actually started construction on it. So we'll see. I mean, I might check it out, but yeah, I'm guessing that the generation beyond is not so much
No,
interested.
they're in the X Games and like the Ken Blocks,
Yeah,
Travis Pastrami, not
yeah,
Pastrami,
yeah.
Pastrada, whatever his name is. Anyway, those kind of guys did. I mean, and their jumps are
But those guys are
successful.
successfully landing stuff. It's not about the
Yes,
crashes,
right,
you know.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ken. Full disclosure, Ken Block is dead. I think he got hurt in a snowmobile accident, or not hurt. He got killed in a snowmobile accident.
Live
But
update. My
yep.
20-some-year-old son said, well, he lives in Kansas though. He said the
Okay.
Evil Knievel Museum is in Topeka, and he knows who he is. So I mean, I don't know if
Okay,
that's
maybe
because he's a
so.
Kansas native but I don't know.
I'm very surprised on that. I
Yeah, me
really
too.
am. Yeah. So we'll
So
see.
next
So,
up we
but
got we
yeah.
got Coney Island Casino, the Coney they're going to call it,
Okay.
supposedly. I mean, we're a
So
ways
this,
off.
yes, big time. So this is in New York. Obviously, New York passed a law to where they're going to open up open casinos, and they're selling some licenses. And there's a group of a bunch of gaming companies that have gotten together, and they're putting in a bid to put it up at Coney Island to make that part of Brooklyn, I guess, is the area that they're looking
So
at
Coney Island's,
redeveloping.
I'm not familiar with that area. You're an East Coast guy, but that's like the pier and the beach of like South Brooklyn, right?
Nathan's hot dogs contest is over there. I went there a few
Hmm.
years ago when Bonnie and I visited New York, and we rode the Cyclone. There was a famous pinball game called Ride the Cyclone, and
So how far is
it's
this like
neat.
from Manhattan?
So it's about, I would say, I think it took us about 40 minutes to get there on the
Okay.
subway. We took the line on in. I
Yeah, I
can't
didn't
remember
even know that
which one.
gambling was legal in New York. I guess it's new because everyone talks about well they got to go to Connecticut and Mohegan Sun or whatever the
Yeah.
other one is across the street or other places. But so this is gambling's new then, right? If they're
Yes. I don't
not
know
talking
if
about
they've
approving
actually got any
casinos.
casinos open yet. And everything that you're seeing up there are those renderings and drawings. Who knows what it looks like.
It
But
may amount to nothing, right? If
yeah, it just depends on what they put through, and there might be other groups bidding, that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
what they're looking at is pretty cool. But I know the people in Atlantic City probably aren't very happy about that.
Yeah.
People that close over there. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
I've heard Atlantic City is I mean, it's had its up and down moments, but it's kind of maybe on a little bit of decline. I
Yeah,
haven't been there personally, but
I've only been there one time, and that
uh
was 20 years ago. Not 20 years ago, about 15, 16 years ago. And I grew up watching Bob Hope, and I would watch, on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. And then when I got there, I was like, this place looks like a dump. The beach was terrible and everything. And then the
But the
police
ideal of it,
officer,
like you're at a
yeah,
casino, plus you're on the ocean and the boardwalk. Like
yeah.
it sounds really nice. Is compared to like you're in the middle of a desert, in the middle of nowhere
Mhm.
in Vegas, and somehow that has thrived and is growing, and yet out there they can't just get their stuff together. I don't know, but
Yeah. I don't know, but I don't want to dump on them completely because I know we have some Color Up Club members who go on up there
yeah, I've heard
and
good things
play.
about Atlantic City
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
and
and
there's
there's some
been a
good
couple
good
that are newer
properties.
casinos,
That's
and
right. That's right.
but
So I don't want
yeah.
to dump on it completely. That's the way that was just my impression when I went there several years ago. But we do, like I said, have a number of members who
But
go
yeah, it
on
would
out
be cool
there.
to see some things opening up in New York.
Hmm.
New York proper, I guess Brooklyn. I don't want to offend the New Yorkers. They're like, well, we're from Brooklyn, or we're from that's completely different than
Yeah,
Manhattan Island or whatever. So I don't even pretend to understand
the
that
geography of it
situation.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. As far as I know for news this week.
good stuff. So I guess we're gonna get into our theme,
Yes.
which is about the math of the game. And I mean that's I guess we got a bunch of comments, and I don't know, you can look through those or whatever, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean my thing here says we got over 100 comments already.
Oh wow. I did not
Yeah,
scroll
I
down. I didn't
forgot about
realize
them. I
how
mean, they've
many.
just been
Oh my
going
gosh.
off. It's something we
So yeah,
definitely got to
oh
get better
wow.
at, but
Yeah. I'm sorry.
but
We were
before we
running.
get to any of those, I'm not sure why I accidentally
Yeah.
clicked on his, but oh, there are already casinos upstate New York and Saratoga. Well, Saratoga is one
Okay.
that is part of that group that wants to get this Coney Island one, but
Mm-hmm.
um let's see, what has he said? Casinos drastically changed AC Boardwalk. Virtually all the dogs closed, and that was what lit up the boardwalk at night.
Shops,
Yeah.
he says,
Oh,
on a
shops.
corrected.
Shop.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I don't know. Let's I guess get into some math then, huh?
yeah. Let's do it. So let's start off with this. I think we should start off with you talking about dice,
Okay.
6-sided dice and 2 pairs. There you go. Do something like that. Talk about that.
We're talking about, I guess, the dice probabilities, and I'm not sure how this translates over audio, but I always say this is a simple game. There's 2 dice. You roll. You can get 11 numbers, right? 2 through 12. You bet on one of those 11 numbers, and you win, right? You bet on the 4. It rolls, you win. But it is a little more complicated that once you get into it, because those 11 numbers, there's actually 36 different combinations. And the game revolves around the number 7. If you're on YouTube, you can see my chart where there are 6 different ways to roll the 7. So there's the most ways to roll that. And then if you kind of look at the 2 and 12, there's only one way to roll this. I think the big thing to know, and that's how things are basically paid off. So for instance, the odds to roll a 2 versus a 7 would be 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's kind of simple. And then that's kind of how how the game is configured, is those odds, right? There's, for every 36 times you roll, you should only see the 2 once. You should see the 7 6 times. And if you're betting on the 2 and it shows up twice out of 36 times, well, then you're probably going to win some money. If it only shows up once, as probability says, you're not going to win money because the casino doesn't pay you fairly. And we can get into that a little bit more. And that's kind of more of house edge. But I think one thing that tripped people up about dice combinations is I always do them in 2 different colors. I say grab 2 dice because for instance, the number 3. Well, there's a 2 and a 1. That's how you create a 3. And so people go, well, there's only one way to roll a 3. But there's the 1 2, and then there's the 2 1. And that kind of doesn't compute with people. They're like, but that's the same outcome. So I try to explain, like, if you roll a black dice, one of them first and it lands on 1, and then you roll the second dice and it lands on 2, that's one combination. But if you roll the dice and it lands on 2 first, it could roll on anything else. But if it rolls on the 1 with the second die, then it's actually a second combination.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's a tough thing to explain.
Okay.
Other than if you just do it with two different color dice. Whereas on the number 2 and 12, no matter how you look at it, whether the red dice first or the black dice is first, die is the proper term for a
Right.
single dice.
Right.
It's going to be a 2 no matter what. You can't switch them and it be something else. But the same with the 2 and the 1, you can't switch and become something other than 3. But there's 2 different combinations. Do you have a better way to explain that?
No,
I did
I
a
think
pretty poor job, I think.
No. I think we should focus in on 7 because that's usually the number that is revolved around. It's whether you're a light side player or a dark side player. And like you said, there's 6 combinations for that. And typically that's the end of the game if you're playing light side. And we can talk about that kind of stuff later. But there's 6 ways to roll that 7. And then as we go out from the 7, each number goes down.
Yeah, it creates a pyramid.
One chance. Yeah, right. Pyramid is a good way to describe it. But 6 and 8, there's 5 ways to roll 6, and there's 5 ways to roll an 8, and then 4 ways to roll the 5, 4 ways to roll a 9. So you have all these probabilities, and the game revolves around that 7 and what the 7 does to either end the game with a end the game with a 7 or 7 out, as they say, or if you're playing dark side, you win on that 7. But there's some math involved as far as the betting that goes with all of those as well too. Maybe we could talk about that because I think the chart will help. But you're right; it's hard to talk about math in a podcast.
So the one thing I will bring up about the chart, and I always like to do the 4 and 10 because it's half. So
sure.
The 4 and 10, there's 3 different ways to roll it, so it's half. So, for instance, like if you bet on the 4, there's you go, okay, I'm going to put a bet on the 4. There's 3 ways to roll this to win, and there's 6 ways to roll the 7 to lose. So I am the 6-3 underdog, or we can, in math, we reduce that down to 2-1 underdog. So if I make a $10 bet, I should, because I'm 2-1, I should get paid $20 when I win that bet. 2-1.
Yeah. Right. 2-1.
And in a that would be the fair way to pay it. The casino doesn't pay you fairly. So they pay you just a little bit short, and they call that a vig or a commission. Or that's considered the house edge. So what they do, instead of paying you 2-1, or I'll just keep it, they pay you 9-5. And so if they paid you fairly for every 5, you should get 10.
Right.
But instead they pay you 9. So they keep that dollar. So if you lose all 5. If you win, you should get paid 10, but they only pay you 9. So whether you win or lose, they're keeping a percentage. So for them, it's impossible to lose at the casino.
Right.
Because the player loses, they take all your money. The player wins, they hold back a percentage. So in order for us to win, we have to roll extra. So if we roll 2 4s, we would get paid $18, and we only roll 1 7 and would lose 10. So that's how you can actually win the game. But the longer you play this game, the dice mathematically find their way back to this pyramid, and you will, the longer you play the game, lose twice as many times as you win betting the 4.
Sure.
That's kind of how, that's a little bit of an explainer of what the house edge is and the difference between how you bet and where their money comes from. And so those are kind of the odds, and every number has that. So, but those are the easiest way to explain it, is because it's half. You should get paid double. And the opposite is true. If you bet on the 7 against the 4, you can bet that way. In craps, they allow you to bet both ways. So a lot of people don't like to bet this way because you have to bet twice as much because you're the favorite now. Hey, I'm betting on the 7. And a lot of beginners do this. They're like, well, if the 7 is the most ways to play or roll, I'm going to bet on the 7 because it's going to roll and I'm going to win. Okay, so but it's this, but now I have to bet twice as much. So now I have to bet $10 to win back 5. Because I'm the favorite. But again, they don't pay you that way. They short you. They'll take a little percentage out of that, and they do that backwards. They say, well, you have to bet 5%. We're going to give you 5%. So you have to bet 10. Well, they round it up. So essentially, I'm starting to get a little. I'm probably getting people confused, but you have to bet more to win back less, and then they keep a percentage. You just have to know that on all the bet. They keep a percentage of every bet in the
Of
casino.
every bet.
So, yeah, no matter how you. That's why strategies are. I kind of talk about strategies on my channel a lot, and those are just different ways to bet the game. But no matter what you do, any combination of bets cannot eliminate that, because every bet they take a percent. You can't get away from that. There's no hiding from the percentage they take. So,
Hey,
yeah.
I've got a comment here from our good buddy Brian at Holy Roller Craps.
Okay.
And he said, if people really care to focus on the math of craps, why would they play the pass line or any even money bet? So how would you respond to that one?
Well, it's okay. So let me pull up another chart here for you.
Okay.
And the fact is because they take out such a small percentage. So when you're playing a pass line or the don't pass, those are the two best bets you can make besides odds that we can get into. But they take a lot smaller percentage out of it. Let's see, craps house edge. No, we'll do maybe the pay table. Yeah. Oh, pay table. I think that works. So the pass, if you bet the pass, I have the true odds up here. Did I hide Jim? Oh, I lost Jim. I had Jim.
Hey, no, it's okay. You're the big banana.
How the math works, it's not as simple as just 6-3, because how you get to an even number, you have to roll. And so with the pass, you would win. The true odds are 251 to 244. You should get paid 251 for the 244, but they only pay you 1-to-1 because it's pretty close. So the reason to bet those bets is because the percentage is so small. They only keep 1.4% of your bet. Whereas other bets on the table, the 5 and 9, they keep 5%. You know, if you do a buy bet, a lay bet, 5%. Some of the bets in the middle of the table, which I tell beginners to stay away from, you're looking at 11%, 15%. So with those high percentage bets that they keep, you have to overcome that percentage by winning a lot more than you should, than what probability says. Mm-hmm. With a bet like this, with the pass or the don't, I mean, out of 250 rolls, you only have to be ahead like 6 rolls or 6 coin flips, and you'll be making money. And that's just, just because they're such a close and they keep such a small percentage. So you have a better chance of actually winning with those bets, just because they take out such a smaller percentage amount of the money.
Okay.
Does that answer that question?
I think so. And yeah, and I'm sure he would disagree, knowing Brian, but that's okay. But what I was going to say also, it's a bet that you have the advantage on the first roll of a 2-to-1 advantage.
2-to-1 favorite for the first roll, because you win with the 6 and 11, which if we look back at the dice combos, that is 8 ways to win. And there are only 4 ways to lose with the 2, 3, and 12. So very first roll of the pass line, amazing. Well, not an amazing bet, because you're a 2-to-1 favorite and you get paid 1-to-1, where you should only get paid half. But they pay you, go ahead and pay you 1-to-1 because you're a big favorite. But once that puck turns on a number, now you're the underdog on every single number. You're always the underdog. And then that's how it kind of evens out the game. And the math works out perfectly that way, where you still only get paid 1-to-1 for that bet. Now, personally, I am not a pass line player with odds, although I recommend it and it is a great bet. I prefer to get paid more if I'm betting on a number. I'm gambling after all. So one thing to consider, like about the best mathematical way to play and house edge and all this stuff, all of those are numbers that will tell you this is the least amount of money you will lose over the long term. So if you play the pass line bet, it's the best bet you can make because you will only lose 1.4% of your money over time. You know, the bet on the horn, or, you know, let's say the bet on the 12, that's a bad bet. You're going to lose, you know, 11 or whatever it is, 13% of your money over time. So the bottom line is you're going to lose no matter what over time. So I don't like to play to not lose the smallest amount of money. I'm playing to beat the odds, hopefully roll more of my numbers and actually win. And in that case, you can kind of throw those percentages out the window. You're just, you have to beat the odds. And if I'm beating the odds, I want to get paid more. So I bet some of those bets that pay more. But, you know, everyone has different perspective on that. There's no right or, well, there is, the casino's right. Players are always wrong. Let me put it that way, I guess.
And there's another point too. You can actually increase that a little bit more by sticking on the don't pass. It's just slightly even better.
Yeah. So technically it is better. You will lose 1.41% of your money betting the pass line. With the don't pass, the first roll, you're a big underdog, but after that, you become the favorite on every number. But over time, you will only lose 1.4%. So we're talking about 1/100th place. So it's essentially for every $100, you're talking about a penny difference.
Yes.
So, you know, yes, technically it is better, but it is I mean, you know, like I said, for every $100 bet, you're talking about 1 cent different. It's, if we could tell the future, I would tell you which side to bet on, but otherwise mathematically, it really doesn't make a difference. If you pick the side you think is going to win. Is the 7 going to roll? Pick the don't. If it's not going to roll for a little bit, pick the other side. The thing about don't, playing as a don't, you usually have to have more money because you remember, you're always betting on the favorite. So you're normally betting more to win back less. So you usually have to have a bigger bankroll. The nice thing is you typically win more often, but smaller amounts. Whereas a light side player will win less often, but they win bigger amounts. So it's, how do you like to play the game? Completely different. But as far as mathematically and the difference in the money amount, like minuscule. People just like it because they win more often. And hey, the 7's coming, right? I'm going to win. But once you factor in the math and the payouts, I mean, you're a penny for every $100 bet is what we're talking about.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, and what's your thoughts on how important is how much should a new player consider the house edge when making bets at the craps table? And is it important to you? Do you care about it? Are there bets that you avoid, or some bets you always make? And you know, do you have a percentage rule on house edge?
I'm probably hypocritical on this a little bit. I usually recommend a player maybe bet the pass line, the 6 and 8, just till they get comfortable with the table. I really don't have a problem, and I personally like to pick up bets on the 5 and 9. Those are 4%. In the game of craps, that's actually pretty bad. If you compare it to slot machines where they're keeping 10, 15, 20%, 4% is good. If you're talking about roulette where it's a 5% game, 4%, you know, pretty good. But in the game of craps where you can get 1.4, if you bet on the 6 and 8, you're at 1.5. You can add an additional odds bet. There's actually zero house edge in that. So it's they pay it completely fair. There are so many bets on the table that the percentage that the casino keeps is so small that you probably shouldn't make those other bets. But we as gamblers get a little bored if you just make one good bet and sit back and wait. So we like to bet more numbers and get more dice combinations that could win. But then, you know, long term, it will cost you more money, but you have more chances to win. So it's kind of a give and take. So with the beginners, I usually just tell them to place the 6 and 8 because you get, it's a great balance because not only is the house edge small at 1.5%, but you get 5 dice combos per number. So 6 and 8, amazing bets. Personally, I rarely, if ever, bet anything in the middle of the table.
Okay.
I will bet some hard ways sometimes because I've done calculations on cost per hour. A hard way bet at only $1 per bet, because usually you can make those at a smaller amount than the rest of the table. Like a table might be, a minimum of $10 or $15 or even 25, but in the middle it'll be like $1. So if you can make a hard way bet, even though it's 11%, 13%, because it's not a one roll bet, they stay on the table. As far as the cost per hour, they're actually very good bets.
Okay.
If you want to calculate it, find a good way. But like a bet on the 12, the 11, where they are one roll bets, the horn, hop bets, those are very poor bets because they add up so quick because they win or lose every single bet. And you're facing that 13, 15% house edge on every single bet, every single roll of the dice. So I would say if you're a beginner, stay away from the middle. 6 and 8 are great. Pass or don't pass, pick a side, both great. Add odds if you can afford it. Amazing bet. If you can afford it, that's a whole different conversation, probably for a whole nother podcast about odds. And we can have all kinds of people yell at me about my stance on that. But it's mathematically paid fair. It is the best bet in the casino. You can't get another one like it. But it's a secondary bet that you have to make. And that's if you can afford to make an additional bet. So did that kind of answer your question a little bit?
I think so. One thing I was going to ask you about is the field bet. You have that up on the chart, and I see a lot of beginners, people who come out and they say, wow, look at all those numbers. Any one of those numbers, the 3, the 4, the 9, 10, 11, 2 and the 12. Oh my goodness. And they'll pay you double on the 2 and the 12 if they hit. There's all those numbers. What's the downside of the field bet?
Very enticing bet. For one, it's easy, like you said, and you get all those dice combinations to win. But what they don't show you is that what's missing is the 5, the 6, the 7, and the 8. And those numbers have more combinations to lose. So it is, there's more ways to lose than win, which is fine. We're still gambling. And if the table pays double, the house edge is about 5.5%. So it's actually way better than the bets in the middle. And it's better than, it's equivalent to roulette. Not a lot, but many tables play triple on the 12. In that case, you're cutting the house edge down to 2.5%. So now you're talking about actually a pretty good bet in the whole casino. The problem with that is you usually have to meet table minimum, which means you're looking at a $10, $15 bet. And like I said before, it is a one roll bet. So it's churning $10 or $15 on every roll. So like when I said the hard ways are actually a good bet for cost per hour, the field bet, even though it has a lower house edge than many of the other bets, is the most expensive bet you can make in craps at a cost per hour basis, just because the amount that you have to bet and the churn on it, even though the house edge isn't that bad, it becomes the worst bet on the craps table. So if you're going to use it, I use it sometimes because it covers a lot of numbers. Because like I said, hey, I like to bet the 6 and 8. It's not in the field. So if I make a field bet, it covers like pretty much almost all the other numbers. So I can get kind of all the other numbers covered real cheaply. So if I make that bet, I get a win and I get out of that field and bet the other numbers as quick as possible. So I don't mind the field sparingly because it covers so many numbers, but please do not play it regularly because it will cost you the most expensive bet on the craps table. It will cost a lot of money.
Okay. Now, I did see a comment from someone here. How would you respond to this one over here? It says, craps is the only game of the casino where you can guarantee you will win money if you bet a certain way. Is that a true statement? You think that's true?
No, absolutely not. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay.
Unless I'm reading this wrong, is the only game. The only game in the casino that I know of that you can guarantee, well, you can't even guarantee you will win if you bet a certain way. Yeah, Joe, you're going to have to expand on that because You cannot guarantee a win. I mean, unless he's talking about hedging, but they're still taking a percentage out of all your wins. Long term, if you play craps, it is a great game in the casino. Craps, baccarat. If you can card count, or play perfect strategy blackjack, you can get in the 1% range or less with these games, but you're still going to lose 1% over time. So I made a video recently. There's no such thing as professional craps players. There's just not, because you have to win enough money to be able to pay taxes on it if you're professional, expenses, and still come up with a profit. And, there are such things as professional poker players because they don't play against the casino. Casino keeps a little percentage, but they're playing against other players so that they can add some skill with the luck and take advantage of other players. And you're essentially beating other players and taking their money. So you can become a professional with that. And then blackjack, there was a way in the past to get below that house edge to get it in favor of the player.
Okay.
And between counting cards and eliminating risk and that sort of thing. But nowadays they've instituted continuous shufflers, and if they just will ask you to leave the casino. So blackjack was another game that you could actually become a professional and have an advantage. But craps, because every bet they take a percentage, you can't get around that. There's no way to beat the game. So I don't know what he means by a guaranteed win.
Oh, hold on. He
no
responded.
Yeah.
I think what he's talking about over here is he's talking about an iron cross. He said that's a $15 $5 and $18 each on the 6 and 8 and $10 in the field. Any number but the big red 7.
But the 7,
that's what he's talking about. Okay, Joe.
Yeah. You can guarantee a win except for when you roll a 7 and you lose. So there's no guarantee. Yeah.
And
you
they
will
all,
win on every
those
single
bets
roll of the
come
dice.
down. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways where
Okay.
you can win on every dice combination except for one, or you can even bet both ways where you win, make a lay bet or a don't. You win with the 7, and you also bet like the 6, 5, 6, and 8, and you can win that way. So you can win both ways. But when when the dust settles, the casino took out a percentage and you will lose. So
here's a true fan. Warren Byer says, "Color Up is
here's
proven."
a new Color Up Club member.
Yeah, he said, "Color Up is proven. Video after video, there are always ways to lose."
Yeah, I'm kind of known for destroying these strategies that we have hopes for. So so when we play, we love to think we can, come up with a way to mix up our bets and win. And some are more conservative, or I should say less volatile. So, you can play for an hour and your ups and downs will be less. You'll probably win less money. Some strategies that we bet are more volatile, and you have a greater chance to win larger amounts, but you also have greater chance of losing larger amounts. And so you just got to find the way that you like to play the game the most. You like to take bigger chances and go for the big win. You like to take minimal risk and hope for a little win. That's fine. And hey, we win. We can win for the weekend. We can win for the year, couple years. You might be a winner over your lifetime, but you're not winning enough to become a professional or quit your job because So that's the game. It is a game for entertainment, to have fun. And we're trying to beat those odds because the casino, they don't need to beat the odds. They're getting their cut no matter what.
Right.
So that's how they make their money, and they have these big, beautiful palaces and can afford to even give you back free rooms and free food and free shows because they're raking in the money. And we can look at some news reports maybe next time, but business is booming for them.
Absolutely booming. And Jeremy, we forgot to mention your sponsor of your YouTube channel, which is Sports Grid. And I was listening to them on Sirius XM satellite radio today, and it's not sports talk necessarily. It's all about sports betting. And so like today I was listening to one of the shows right before when I took the dogs out to walk, and they were talking about the live game when the Knicks were playing in Indiana, and they were talking about how many points and all this kind of stuff. So it's always focused on the betting and stuff. So, and I'm not a big sports betting guy, but there might be some people who could enjoy and get some love from those
Right.
guys
So
and get some
what's
pointers.
happened? They're not necessarily sponsors. So,
Yeah,
they are a partner. I've partnered up with them, and
partner.
what that means is they're going to distribute my YouTube show on their television network, and they're everywhere. So Roku, Fire Stick, Samsung, or all the TVs, with the digital channels and all, they're like everywhere. Apple TVs, they're on apps. You can just go to their website, sportsgrid.com, and they're essentially like the ESPN for betting advice. They don't sell picks, they don't sell advice or anything like that, but they are very informed people that, tell you, hey, this guy's hurt. This guy has been batting really well against this team, and they give you sports betting advice. So it's 24 hours live. Well, actually, like 20 hours of live, because now they're putting my show on as like an alternative content. But yeah, for 20 hours during the day, they're talking live about all the sports betting and why you should pick this team. So if you're into sports betting, Sports Grid is your source. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, they're going to be distributing my show through all their TV networks, and I'll get full disclosure, I'll get a revenue share of whatever advertising if they sell, if advertisers are interested on airing their commercials during my show. We'll see. That is yet to be determined, but yeah, it should work out good. And it's a lot of great guys over there, and yeah, we're now Color Up's powered by Sports Grid. So that's what that's
Powered
all about.
by.
Yeah,
Powered by, not sponsored, but
no,
powered
not sponsored. Sponsored means they
Okay.
would have to pay me, and I couldn't get that deal worked out necessarily. But
Okay.
We got a great deal where we'll split some ad revenue if we can get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, did you want to talk about anything else? It looks like we're coming on the 56-minute mark.
Yeah, we're getting up there.
Yeah, and I know we
no,
kind of rambled
I
on.
think I got animated and I got excited. I love talking about the math, but I don't know if I helped anyone. Obviously I've got years worth of videos to cram in. 30 minutes is tough, and that's what this game is about, is math. I guess the big takeaways is long term. Please don't quit your day job and think you're becoming a professional craps player. Hey, short term, we definitely can beat the odds and have a great weekend. We can win thousands if we bet aggressive and the dice go in our favor. We can have big wins. But that's what the game's about. Entertainment only. Please only be gambling with money you can afford to lose, because a lot of times you're gonna lose. Not like my brother with slots, who had a good 1.5 year run. Eventually it's going to come to an end. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always been amazed at people like your brother. I see them getting, hitting the cash payouts and in-hand payouts and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't understand it, and I guess it's the same
like
thing with us.
I call them like the dice gods, but like for some reason they just the luck is shined upon them, and because I know me and my wife, we play slots a little bit, and it's like we'll take $100 straight to zero with like maybe $1-2 win, like straight to zero. And, I'll play with him and he'll be like, I won 10, and then it won 20, and then 50. And okay, I lost 10, up and down. And then I'll win, 1,500. Like, that's normal for me. I'm like, how in the world? It's so lucky.
How?
It just, I don't know. It's just some people, I guess, are born luck. And I'm like, maybe it's my mental, but it's not. It's all just chance. And he's had a great run of it. And yeah, another episode we'll get into down the line. Some people do believe you can control the dice, because that would be a way, right? We're talking about you got to beat the probability. If you can control the dice and roll extra fours, well, then you can beat the probability of the game. And so that's a whole nother aspect of this game, where people, could, if they could, roll more fours than you should, or you roll less sevens than you should, you could, again, beat this game. That would be the only way to beat the math of this game. Otherwise, this game is perfectly designed. It's been tried for hundreds of years. You cannot beat the math of this game. So,
yeah, that's definitely true on that. And maybe, like I said, that's an episode down the line that we can get into. And I'm seeing a lot of, I'm seeing already
with a couple comments before we wrap it up.
Yeah. I see a couple of comments. Joe checking in again, saying that he's craps is by far the best game in the casino. I
Absolutely.
totally agree on that one.
Most entertaining, and if you play line bet with odds, you can't beat the house edge as far as the percentage they keep. There's no better game.
And then here was one here. Can I bet on another player by Shark Trends? And I didn't know what he meant by that. I saw that one earlier in Shark Trends. I don't know if you can jump in real quick if you're
not
still
really.
there.
Yeah, really. You're really betting against the numbers. I know some people feel like, hey, if there's a guy betting with the 7 and you're betting against the numbers, that you're betting against him, but you're really not. There's no such thing as betting against other players. You're always betting against the casino, whether your number is going to roll or the 7s roll, or if you bet with the 7, vice versa. So you're always betting against the casino. It's not like poker. And how other people bet don't affect it. So I know I get yelled at, like if I play blackjack, like people feel like, you're taking their cards, and that mathematically, from my understanding, it doesn't affect, no matter what cards, but people, you took my card and I would have won. So that is the other players affect you. The other players playing in craps, they do not affect you at all. It's you against the house, you against the casino. You're hoping your numbers roll and you win. That's it. It's not against the other players at all.
Yeah, and if you win, that doesn't mean the other guy loses. It means he's just betting, or she's just betting a different strategy.
Yeah.
Than you on the other side of the dice, or whatever.
We can all be winning and losing depending on which side of the dice we bet. But one thing about the game, most people bet similar. They bet light side, which is they're trying to avoid the 7. So that's when you hear all the big hoops and hollers in the tables, usually because everyone's betting similar, and so they're all winning together. So it's a great feeling. Whereas other games, blackjack, like this guy loses, this guy wins, this guy wins, this guy loses, this guy loses, right? It's very mixed. But on a craps table, usually the majority is all betting together, so everyone's winning together. So it gets really exciting when you got 16 people all winning together. So that's when you hear the big hollers in the casino, is when the whole table wins together at once.
Okay. Well, I'm scrolling through the comments, see if there was anything else. And I know we got a lot of our, club members that are jumping on in here. And there was one that I saw that was back toward the front that I thought would be fun.
We'll do one last one and wrap it up.
One last one.
Hey,
yeah,
we're going to be doing this podcast weekly. So, we'll hopefully, I don't know. That's a bad promise if I say we'll get to your comments, because we won't necessarily, but you'll get to hear me blabber on more.
So this is the one that I think you need to look at. And it goes back to our chart. It says, look at all those 7 combinations. It's the Andre the Giant of numbers by 555 craps. There are how many ways to roll a 7, Jeremy?
6.
And no other numbers, 6 and the 8 or 5 each. That's the closest.
Did I get that up there properly?
You got the line bets and all. You don't have the combinations. That's a different one.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, when you look at it that way, the 6 and the 8 do come close, but it's still a disadvantage. And then from there, it just kind of tapers on down. So
the game revolves around that number 7. So
that's 7.
But again, whether you bet with it or against it, the casinos figured it out. They take a percentage. So either way, you can't win long term. But pick your poison. But it will roll the most, and every roll ends in a 7.
Well, I think you summed it up greatly. We talked some math and some different ways of playing and house edge. So great job, Jeremy. And how do you usually end your videos?
I like to say, no matter the math or how you like to play, good luck on coloring up.
All right. Bye, everybody.